I never thought the person I loved most would betray me in front of everyone who mattered. My name is Emily Hart. I'm 33 years old, and until last year I believed in happy endings. That's not because life handed them to me easily. It didn't, but because I worked hard for them. Growing up on the south side of Chicago, I learned early how to fight for what I wanted. My dad left when I was 5, leaving my mom to raise me alone. She held down 2 jobs to help me go to a decent school. I repaid her by earning scholarships and building my career as an event planner. By 28, I had my own business, my apartment, and enough savings to feel safe. Safe, that word feels hollow now. Then I met Daniel. Daniel Monroe wasn't just handsome, he was kind. He listened when no one else did. When we started dating 3 years ago, his family welcomed me like I'd always belonged there. His mother, Alina, especially made sure I felt included. She invited me to holiday dinners. She sent handwritten notes after big events in my life. Once, she even helped me pick out a dress for my company gala. She called me her second daughter. So you can imagine why what happened next still feels like a punch to the gut every time I think about it. It was supposed to be perfect. The bridal shower at their house in Lincoln Park, Alina's idea, of course, was everything I dreamed it would be. White roses filled the space. Silver trays held finger sandwiches. Laughter spilled onto the patio as the sun set over Lake Michigan. My best friend gave a speech that had us all crying, and then Daniel surprised me by showing up halfway through. Everyone cheered as he kissed me under the string lights. It was magical, until it was. We sat at the table, sipping champagne and laughing over childhood stories. Then, Alina suddenly stood up. Her face was pale but determined. "Before we cut the cake," she said, her voice cutting through the room, "I need to say something important." The air froze. "Emily," she continued, looking straight at me, "you've become part of this family, and we love having you here. But let's be clear, you will not be included in the Monroe family trust." Silence. I swear I heard glasses clinking stop midair. All eyes turned to me, waiting for a reaction I couldn't muster. My chest tightened, and my hands gripped the edge of the table like it might save me from falling apart. What do you mean?" I finally managed to choke out. Alina smiled, but it didn't reach her eyes. "Exactly what I said. The trust is for blood relatives only. You understand, don't you? Family comes first." Family. That word hit me harder than anything else. Because if I wasn't family, then what was I? A guest? A charity case? Someone they could use and discard when it suited them? Daniel looked horrified. He stepped in, stammering about fairness, but Alina silenced him with just one look. "This isn't up for discussion," she snapped, and just like that, the illusion shattered. Afterward, people pretended nothing had happened. They laughed louder, drank more champagne, and avoided meeting my gaze. Even Daniel seemed unsure how to fix it, but I knew this wasn't random. This wasn't some spur-of-the-moment decision. Alina had planned it. The first clue came weeks later, buried in an old photo album Daniel accidentally left at my place. As I flipped through it, I saw a picture of Alina with another woman. The woman wore a diamond ring just like Daniel's grandmother's heirloom. On the back, scrawled in faded ink, were the words Leila, 1987. Who was Leila? Why did she have the ring? And why did seeing her face make my stomach churn like I had stumbled onto something I wasn't meant to see? Before you keep listening, take a second to hit like if you're following along. It helps other people find these kinds of stories. That picture of Leila haunted me. It wasn't only her face. It was how she looked at Alina, as if she knew a secret Alina wanted to keep hidden. The ring was a clue, but it felt bigger than jewelry. It felt like a key to a door I didn't even know existed yet. At first, I told myself not to obsess over it. After all, Daniel and I were still planning our wedding. We pushed the date back after the bridal shower fiasco because neither of us could pretend everything was fine. But every time I tried to focus on seating charts or flower arrangements, my mind drifted back to that photo. Who was Leila? Why did Alina have a picture of her with such an important family heirloom? And why did it feel like this secret was tied to why I'd been cut out of the trust? So I started digging quietly. It began with small things, casual questions slipped into conversations with Daniel. "Hey, do you remember Grandma's ring? Wasn't there some story about it?" He shrugged it off, saying he barely remembered anything about it except that it had been passed down for generations. That answer should have satisfied me, but it didn't. If it was so special, why couldn't he recall more details? Then came the harder part, going through old boxes in Daniel's childhood home while Alina was out running errands. She never suspected me capable of snooping. I was too polite, too eager to please. But desperation makes people do things they wouldn't normally consider. One Saturday afternoon, while Daniel worked late, I found myself in the attic, surrounded by dusty crates and faded memories. In one box labeled family documents, I discovered letters. Dozens of them, yellowed with age, tied together with a brittle ribbon. They were addressed to Alina from someone named Leila Monroe. At first glance, they seemed mundane updates on daily life, mentions of mutual friends, but as I read deeper, patterns emerged. Leila wrote about money troubles, about feeling abandoned by the Monroes, and about a child she claimed needed support. A child. My hands trembled as I unfolded another letter, dated 1989. In it, Leila accused Alina of stealing her inheritance. "You think no one will find out," Leila wrote, "but someday the truth will come out. My daughter deserves what is rightfully hers." Daughter. I sat back against the wall, heart-pounding. This wasn't just about a stolen ring or a grudge. There was a hidden sibling, a person who should have been part of the Monroe family but wasn't. And if that person existed, then maybe the betrayal ran deeper than I had ever imagined. But how could I prove any of this? How could I confront Alina without tipping her off? The answer came unexpectedly, in the form of a phone call from someone I barely knew, Claire, Daniel's cousin. Claire was the black sheep of the family, the one everyone whispered about but rarely invited to gatherings. She called me out of the blue one evening, asking if we could meet for coffee. "I heard about what happened at your bridal shower," she said when we sat down. Her voice was low, almost conspiratorial. "And I think you deserve answers." Answers, that word made my pulse quicken. Over the next hour, Claire revealed pieces of the puzzle. She confirmed what I'd suspected. Leila was Alina's younger sister, disowned decades ago after getting pregnant out of wedlock. According to Claire, Leila had fought for years to reclaim her share of the family fortune, only to be shut out completely. "And the baby?" I asked, my throat dry. Claire hesitated before answering. "Her name's Samantha. She's around our age, I think. She lives somewhere outside the city. Last I heard, she works as a teacher." Samantha, a real person, not just a shadowy figure in old letters. Someone who'd been erased from the Monroe legacy. Claire and I formed an uneasy alliance after that meeting. She hated Alina almost as much as I did now, though her reasons were different. While I wanted justice, Claire wanted revenge for years of being mocked, ignored, and treated like garbage by the rest of the family. Together, we pieced together more of the story. Through public records, social media sleuthing, and a few discreet phone calls, we tracked down Samantha. Meeting her was surreal. She looked so much like Alina it was uncanny, the same sharp cheekbones, the same piercing eyes. But where Alina carried herself with cold authority, Samantha radiated warmth. When I told her why I'd reached out, she laughed bitterly. "Of course, Alina wouldn't include you in the trust," she said. "She doesn't believe anyone outside her control deserves a dime, not even her flesh and blood." Samantha agreed to help us reveal the truth. This includes not only the stolen inheritance, but also the lies, manipulation, and years of cruelty masked as tradition. With her testimony, along with the letters and documents Claire and I had gathered, we built a case strong enough to bring Alina down. But building that case changed me. There were nights when guilt gnawed at me, whispering that I was becoming exactly what I despised, someone obsessed with power and control. Other times, doubt crept in, making me wonder if I was chasing justice or vengeance. Could I live with myself if I destroyed Alina's reputation? Did I even care anymore? Daniel noticed the shift in me. "You're different lately," he said one evening, his brow furrowed with concern. "What's going on?" I wanted to tell him everything, to lay bare the secrets I'd uncovered and ask him to choose between me and his mother. But I couldn't. Not yet. Instead, I smiled and said, "Just wedding stress. You know how it is." He nodded, but I saw the flicker of unease in his eyes. As the plan took shape, I realized this wasn't just about punishing Alina. It was about reclaiming my dignity, my identity. I'd spent years trying to fit into a mold that was never meant for me. Now, I was breaking free, not just from Alina's grip, but from the version of myself that thought I needed her approval to matter. If you're still with me, take a moment to reflect on how far this story has come. When I started unraveling these secrets, I had no idea where it would lead. Neither Claire nor Samantha did. But sometimes, the hardest truths are the ones worth fighting for. If this resonates with you, leave a comment sharing your thoughts or share this video with someone who needs to hear it. Trust me, stories like this don't come around often. Because the best part, the revenge, it's coming, and it's going to change everything. The day of reckoning came on a cold February morning inside a courtroom that smelled faintly of polished wood and stale coffee. Alina sat straight at the defense table. Her navy suit was sharp and stiff, as if she could scare the truth into submission. Daniel was there too, looking pale and confused, like he couldn't believe we'd gone through with it. I didn't blame him. It wasn't just his mother's reputation on the line anymore. It was the entire Monroe family name. But let me back up. We didn't sue for money. That would have been too easy, too predictable. Instead, we filed a civil lawsuit against Alina for fraud and breach of fiduciary duty. The goal wasn't financial ruin, it was exposure. We aimed to remove the facade she built over the years. We wanted to reveal her true self, a woman who valued control above all, even if it hurt others. Samantha testified first. She spoke calmly, her voice steady despite the weight of what she was saying. She shared how her mother had worked hard for years to regain their place in the family. But then, Alina silenced her and shut her out. She found old letters in her attic after Leila died. The letters explained Alina's part in cutting them off from the trust fund completely. When Samantha finished speaking, something shifted in the room. Even the judge seemed affected, leaning forward slightly as if trying to piece together the puzzle himself. Alina, however, remained stone-faced, though I caught her glancing nervously at Daniel more than once. Next, Claire took the stand. She didn't mince words. Alina has always treated this family like her own personal empire, she said, her tone sharp but controlled. Anyone who doesn't play by her rules gets cast aside or erased. Then it was my turn. Walking up to the witness stand felt surreal, like stepping into a dream where every detail was both familiar and terrifying. I looked directly at Alina as I began speaking, making sure she saw the fire burning behind my eyes. I trusted this family, I said, my voice clear and unwavering. I gave them everything, my loyalty, my love, my future. They threw it away because I was blood. But they didn't see that blood doesn't make a family. It's trust. And when you break that trust, you destroy everything. By the time I finished, the gallery was silent. People weren't whispering or shuffling papers, they were listening, really listening. For the first time, Alina looked rattled. Her hands gripped the edge of the table so tightly that her knuckles turned white. The verdict came 2 days later. The judge ruled in our favor, ordering Alina to restore Samantha's rightful share of the trust fund and issue a public apology. The media soon learned about the case. Headlines about the Monroe scandal took over local news. Friends, colleagues, and distant relatives who once admired Alina now saw her true self. She was a manipulative, power-hungry matriarch. She would sacrifice anyone to keep control of the family fortune. It was poetic justice in its purest form. Afterward, Daniel confronted me. His face was a mix of anger and hurt, but also something else. Relief, maybe? "Why didn't you tell me?" he asked, his voice trembling. "Would you have believed me?" I countered softly. He didn't answer right away. Finally, he sighed and ran a hand through his hair. "Probably not at first, but I see it now. Everything she did to you, to Samantha, to Claire, it's wrong, and I can't keep pretending it's okay." For a moment, I thought he might walk away, but instead, he reached out and took my hand. "What happens next?" "That depends on you," I said. "Do you want to rebuild what's left of your family, or do you want to keep living in her shadow?" He chose me. Months later, things aren't perfect, but they're better. Samantha is reconnecting with family. She is slowly putting together the life she missed. Claire moved out of state, saying she needed space to figure out who she was without the Monroe drama weighing her down. As for Daniel and me, we're still figuring things out, one step at a time. Revenge didn't fix everything. It didn't erase the pain or undo the years of betrayal, but it gave me something I hadn't realized I had lost: my voice, my power. And sometimes, late at night, I think about Alina sitting alone in her mansion, staring at the walls that used to protect her secrets. I wonder if she regrets any of it, if she understands what she lost by clinging so tightly to what she thought she owned. She tried to bury us, I whisper to myself in those quiet moments, but we became the storm. If you've made it this far, thank you for sticking with me through Emily's journey. Stories like this don't come along often, and they remind us that justice, even when it's messy, is worth fighting for. If you found this story powerful, hit subscribe so you don't miss more like it. And leave a comment letting me know which part stayed with you the most, because every story deserves to be heard.